Ripe by A.H. Scott. Ripe. Palming plums. Paula pondered, peppermint or rose oil. As Lorenzo took a deep breath, he whispered, "Make a wise choice." "I always do." Paula smiled at the man who'd brought a heightened level of excitement to her life. 5 years ago, he made this lucky lady his wife. Insides of both hands moderately manipulated those balls as Paula licked her lips in anticipation of where this prelude would take them. Paula's hands were soft like cashmere as Lorenzo enjoyed these moments of love's overture to begin. She perched herself on the edge of the bed as he rested on those white cotton sheets, cradling the spongy pair with care. She released one from left hand and began stroking his shaft lightly. Like a juggler, Paula made Lorenzo's duo bounce up and down with flair. Right hand let go of this pleasurable cargo, and she focused completely on his stalk of satisfaction. Lorenzo's entire being soaked in the moment as he knew what was about to take place. Paula's hands stroked his manhood almost as if she were churning butter, tugging up and tugging down. Each motion was evolving clay to concrete, and Paula was the builder of Lorenzo's boner. She stretched forward and pressed her lips against the tip of that cock. She did this action not to suck it yet, but making primary contact with this organ of future bliss. Puckering and pecking gently at the tip, she winked at Lorenzo, and he smiled. This lady was taking a slow steamer to paradise after bringing his cock out of the port of placidity. Parting lips, teeth met bulb of cock and began cautiously clawing against it. Enamel and flesh played upon one another with every movement of Paula's head. Nibbles so faint continued as Lorenzo was at a crossroads of giggles and sighs. Cock's tip had the appearance of a small nectarine, and Paula couldn't wait to partake of the nectar within. "Ooh, baby," Lorenzo moaned. "That feels so good." Taking a beat away from his meat, Paula purred. "Tonight is all about you, Lorenzo. Just relax and enjoy all that I'm going to do. I'm yours for the taking." Folding hands behind his head, he relaxed and let desire's dove take him away. Squeezing balls with both hands, Paula continued to peck and pucker that cock tip. for a few more moments of preparation. Mouth motioned downward as inch after inch vanished before Lorenzo's eyes. Paula took him deeper into her throat with every breath she took. Esophageal expansion led to cock's tip reaching Paula's vibrating uvula. Shaft to shaft, Paula and Lorenzo had become one entity of romantic rendering. Synchronization of hands and mouth worked with grace and skill as Paula's salivary glands began to kick into overdrive. Both sets of her lips were drenched in harmony as Paula's throat and pussy tingled in a mambo of constant arousal. Cock inside of mouth became drenched in a swirl of saliva as the fireworks of Felicio began to sparkle in both their eyes. Paula and Lorenzo enjoyed an erotic game of show and tell. Now was the moment for her to show the results she produced already in this tug of temptation. Each hand was placed on either side of his shaft as his cock was quickly dislodged from her throat. As mouth disappeared from throbbing flesh, a trail of liquid followed down that hardened cock and drizzled upon Paula's hands. Sides of her mouth had a glisten of saliva dripping from both ends as she began to smile. Lorenzo murmured in response, "Oh, baby, you know just how to get my soul roaring." Paula was not finished with Lorenzo yet, and he thanked the heavens for that fact. Head motioned to one side as tongue licked around each ball and up that stiffening pull of passion. Paula was only halfway at the point of pleasuring her lover that night. She made him hard, but he was not yet fully satisfied. That would come in due time. Sliding atop of him, she placed his hard cock inside of her already soaked snatch. Hips shifted from side to side as pole and pocket joined as one. Feeling him inside of her, there was nowhere else in the world Paula wanted to be. As for Lorenzo, making love to her was a dream fulfilled. He pumped his cock in an upward motion as she bounced downward with a chaotic velocity. Blonde curls flowed carelessly around her shoulders as their bodies' tempo glided across time. Faster and harder, Lorenzo and Paul's hands gripped one another. Upon their marital bed, this couple explored emotions with every motion. "Oh, Lorenzo," she groaned. "I'm almost there, sweetie." Pulling himself upward, he was face to face with this woman. "Paula, you are my angel." "Always." Breathlessly, her body clung onto him on that bed. She could feel his cork about to pop. "Tonight is all for you, Lorenzo. I want all of you." He knew what she was requesting and pulled out of this sexy seductress quickly. Paula laid onto the bed and wagged her tongue as a target for Lorenzo. He didn't fail her in this pivotal time. Every drop of his love went into his love. Lorenzo's waterfall left only a few trickles upon her chin. Paula's middle finger on her left hand lapped up that excess from glistening chin, and she sucked that digit dry. Ooh, yummy. Lorenzo grabbed his rod of concrete and shook it in front of her eyes. "Damn, baby, you got room for a few more drops." Gazing down at a trio of liquid pearls shimmering on his cock's tip, Paula placed her hands atop of his and stroked him a bit more. Always toying tongue back and forth over that juicy flesh as those last 3 drops vanished. Spent from that draining, Lorenzo reclined on the bed, yet Paula was not finished with the man she adored. With back to him, she twisted her torso around and smiled. "We're only at halftime, lover." Laughing out loud, Lorenzo winked. "Oh, so there's a second half, my lovely one?" Paula nodded and got up off the bed. Standing near an oak nightstand, she tapped fingertips along a trio of glass bottles. "I've made my choice, Lorenzo," clasping the middle bottle of oil in her hands. "Just close your eyes and let me surprise you." His eyes closed and lips formed a smile. She approached the bed slowly while twisting the top off that bottle. Oil formed a small puddle in the palm of Paula's left hand. Lorenzo's body had a sheen of sweat still upon it as she rubbed hands together and began to let a few drops dance upon flesh. Moderately, Paula pressed hands up and down his chest and stomach. She felt his heart beating and Lorenzo exhaling. As he did so, the scent trigger inside of his brain hit the jackpot. Peppermint oil was the elixir used to massage his senses. "I told you that peppermint patties were always my favorite, Lorenzo." She giggled lightly, as hands motioned forward down on him. Lorenzo's erection hadn't dissipated, and this was part of Paula's plan. Oiling him up with a still hard cock would make this night one that neither would forget. She knew he was unable to go a second round immediately, but massaging his cock and balls would prove quite relieving. He grunted a bit as her fingertips made contact with that tender region. After a smattering of touches upon his thighs and feet, Paula's peppermint surprise was almost complete. Taking a tiny trickle of peppermint oil in between her palms, Paula rubbed that warm liquid against soft breasts and arms. Paula's agenda for this night had been complete. Love's orchard produced a harvest so sweet. A happy hubby was laying there with joy in his eyes, while his wife of crafty ways was gleeful that he enjoyed her slippery surprise. Lorenzo watched with a beaming smile on his face as only one word came: fruitful. Paula puckered lips and replied to him in a similar vein: ripe. End. You've just heard A.H. Scott read Ripe, exclusively on sale at Smashwords.